Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to another wonderful math video by Mr. Sankey, the greatest middle school math teacher you might have all year. So today we are going to continue with what we talked about yesterday, but today we are solving equations by multiplication and division. Yay, wonderful, wonderful. Yesterday we talked about addition and subtraction. We talked about inverse operations. Remember, the opposite of addition is subtraction. The opposite of subtraction is addition. And what's cool is multiplication and division work the same way. So the opposite of multiplication is division. The opposite of division is multiplication. Okay, so we're going to be working the same kind of magic today. The only thing that gets trickier is our math gets a little bit harder. And you might see some fractions, and you might get freaked out by some fractions, but we're going to talk about those so that we don't get all sorts of jumbled and get our stomach twisted up and get all worried about it, okay? We're going to be okay, I promise. You got to trust me. We will be okay. All right, so let's get into it. If we have the equation x divided by 7 equals 20. Okay, our equation says x divided by 7 equals 20. Now we want to remember, what is the goal of an equation? What's the goal of solving an equation? Well, the goal is to get our variable all by itself. And in order to do that, we need to do the inverse of whatever our problem tells us. Right? If our problem tells us to divide by 7, to get rid of divide by 7, we do the opposite, which is multiply by 7. So we're going to multiply by 7 and cancel out our 7s. If we do something to one side, we do the same thing to the other. We're going to multiply by 7 and then math this out. 7 times 0, 0. 7 times 2, 14. X equals 140. Okay, and because we're working with multiplication and division, we might end up with some bigger numbers than we did yesterday, and that's okay. You guys can do big numbers. Like I tell Theo, you can do hard things, and I know you can because I see you do it all the time. Okay, so we got to remember our opposites. If it tells us to divide, we're going to multiply. All right, this is one way division can be written. Another way that division can be written is by looking like this. Division might be written to look like this. 13 equals z divided by 5. Sometimes division might be written as a fraction. Don't let that scare you because we're not dealing with fractions today. We're dealing with division problems. This right here is just another way to say z divided by 5. And we know if it's z divided by 5, what's the opposite of division? Well, that's multiplication. So we need to multiply by 5, and our 5s will cancel out. If we multiply by 5 on this side, we are also going to multiply by 5 on this side. And then we math. 5 times 3, 15. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 1 is 6. 65 equals z. Okay? Don't let fractions scare you today. Fractions can scare you later, but they're not going to scare you today. We will do it's just simple division, and then we take it and do some multiplication with it. All right? We will be okay. All right, so that was divide. Now let's talk about multiply. And let's see how this works with multiplication. Okay? So remember, we might see multiplication in a couple ways, but most commonly and most of the time when we're dealing with variables and numbers, we're going to see multiplication written like this, with our number and our letter right next to each other. This right here means 4 times z. Okay? So when we see 4z, it means 4 times z, and that's workable, right? So remember that this means multiplication. All right, so let's say we have the equation here. 4z equals 240. Actually, I'm going to space this out a little bit just to make our lives a little easier. 240. So what is the goal in solving equations? Well, it's to get the z all by itself. So since this is times, we want to do the opposite of times, which is divide. We're going to divide by 4. That cancels out. If we divide by 4 on this side, what do we got to do on the other side? Divide by 4. Yes, wonderful answer, children. I know you all said that at home. We're going to divide by 4, and that's why I spaced it out so we could do a little bit of long division. 4 goes into 2, 0 times. 4 goes into 24, 6 times. 4 times 6 is 24, which is 0. Bring down my 0. 4 goes into 0, 0 times. And we see that z equals 60. Yay! We are all so excited. So, we gotta remember some of our things. We gotta remember our inverse operations. The opposite of multiplication is division. The opposite of division is multiplication. We can do this. All right, just like yesterday. I'm going to leave you with a problem. You're going to solve it. You're going to tell me how you feel about this lesson. If you need more help, please let me know. I would love to help you as much as I can. All right, our final equation for you to solve is 63 equals 3p. P equals what? Have a wonderful day, children. I can't wait to see you all tomorrow. Be good.